I'll make my tiers right now because I have a pretty good idea what's bad about it right now. Because I mean I literally tried every single champion besides Sign maybe, but I literally tried every single new jungler you can possibly play, like literally, okay. And I can make a tier list that I will tell you what's OP on this patch. And yeah, let's get to it. Okay, so I'll just tell you what I think about these champions and how OP they are. If you have not read the patch notes, you can, you know, look at the website. But basically, let's start with Fizz, okay? I'll go from left to right, all of these champions. And let's start with Fishy, okay? I think Fishy, actually, at first I thought this champ was C tier. Because I was thinking, why would you play Fizz? But then I played it one game and I found out this champion is pretty brain dead. Not too difficult to play. And if you have some hands, I would say it's minimum at least A tier, okay? I would say it's minimum at least A tier. I don't think it's necessarily A+. But yeah, I mean, I think Fizz in lower elo is at least A tier. I'll make a high elo tier list later on my Discord. Just so you guys know. So if you want to exit the high elo tier list, just go to my Discord later. But this is like below Emerald, okay? Or like Emerald and below. But I would say Fizz at least is A tier, okay? Is A or A+. I cannot tell exactly which one yet. I've played it only like 3 games. It did feel very strong. So I'm not even surprised if it's A+ though. I'll be honest. But I'll just put it A for now, okay? Ambessa. Okay. I think Ambessa, if you have some arms, it's very fucking OP. Just please watch a combo or something. If you don't know the combo, it's like somewhere B tier, okay? But if you're just average on Ambessa, it's at least A+. But this champion, I would say very OP. I would even say in lower elo, it can be very, very OP. However, I don't think it's as OP as it should be in low elo, because it's not like that OP 1v1. So I'll put it A+, okay? But I do think if you're good in this champion, easily insanely OP, okay? Easily. Cho'Gath. Bro, I think this champion, if it gets rolling, it gets really rolling, okay? You can go Rocket Belt into Deadman's Plate or Deadman's Plate into Riftmaker, but this champion, I think even in low elo, it's a stat checker. After level 6, insanely solid. I think this champion is very good if you know how to play this champion. It's insanely good, actually. As for Mundo, I would say Mundo is like A+ as well. This champion is good against most of the new Bruisers that are being played in the jungle. I think Mundo is just a champion that you full clear, get some items, you're pretty solid, especially in lower elos. I'm gonna just clarify this, right? Emerald minus, to be sure. Okay, Riven, I'll be honest, if you're playing low elo, Riven, don't play it. It's probably B tier or C tier. Very, very difficult to play. But it's still somewhat decent. But honestly, all the champs that I consider hard to play, watch some guides, practice the combos, you can easily make the A tier. But generally speaking, I don't think many people will be able to make Riven work as junglers if you don't actually spend a lot of time. The same goes for Jace. These type of champions are not that insane low elo, unless you're really good, but you shouldn't be in low elo if you're, you know. But yeah. Anyway, so Jace as well as B tier, simply because you need to space properly, you need to hit your QEs. If you don't, it's just cooked. And I can tell you, even in professional play, most top laners cannot play Jace. Unless you're Asian. Simply because the champ is quite difficult, and even in jungle, playing it like very well is difficult. Same goes for Aatrox, B tier. In low elo, people cannot land their combo. Hitting the Q on the outer edge, it's difficult. Knowing when to like use your Q, knowing not when to. Every small thing you're missing on this champ, it makes it super hard. These are pretty high skill ceiling champs. Of course, it can be A tier list, right? If you get decent on a champion. But I'm not sure if I would put it A+. I think A tier maximum. But I'll put it B tier, considering the average Joe will be making it B tier, okay? Volibear. Okay, they buffed Volibear a little bit, but it's still shit. It's just A tier. I miss the bear, but the E nerf is the biggest nerf, I think. And the Q move speed nerf. They buffed the 3 extra AD, but still A tier. Rek'Sai. Okay, Rek'Sai in lower elo, Emerald and below. I would say it's actually A tier, actually maybe B tier. The thing is that this champion, if you're behind, you're kind of cooked, but if you understand a bit what to do, it's easily A tier. I think this champ is strong, by the way, but I think it's stronger if you're like Diamond, I feel like Emerald Master, once you understand the champion a bit more. But people's fundamentals is like not as good to make it work, and at least the lower elo, the higher elo I'll make it later. So in lower elo, I feel like people gank really random. If it fails, they go for another gank instead of optimizing farm, recognizing how to gank. Then it's like B tier, okay? Rek'Sai. Skarner, okay, Skarner got buffed. But I still think in lower elos is no bueno. I'll put it B tier as well. Just B tier in general, it can always be A tier if you get really good on those champions. But most of those champs are just like, I wouldn't recommend personally. Okay, Malphite, ironically. I think Malphite in low elo, I think it's actually A tier. And why is that? Why is that, okay? First thing first. People will not flash your ultimate. Second thing. It actually beats most Bruisers. 1v1. Or like, it's actually not bad, okay? So, you slow their attack speed. You have a good ultimate to engage. But, you have to play with your ultimate. You have to. If you play without your ultimate, it's like C tier. If you play around your ultimate, it's like A or even A plus in low elo, I'll be honest. I think that's how strong the champ is in lower elos, okay? But I would put it A tier. I don't think it's anywhere as close as Cho'Gath or Mundo, obviously. If both Malphite would play against those champions, good luck, have fun. Sion. I'll put Sion B tier. For the following reason. In low elo, your teammates will die, and Sion does not impact the early game at all. It's a very good scaling champion if the games are slow, but the games are not slow in low elo. The game gets decided quite fast. For that reason, I put it B tier. Generally speaking, if it goes as planned in the right drafts, it can legit be A+. Easily. But most of the times, not viable. Okay? Anyway, what about Ornnovich? Ornnovich, I mean, for me as well, the same thing. It's like, it's a fine champion, but most of the tanks in lower elo, and if it's not brain dead engage, like Malphite, I would not rate it highly. People will flame you because you don't gank properly, and it doesn't do that much. So, for that reason, I'll put it lower. Elise in low elo, okay, in low elo as well, I would put Elise B tier. I think the champ is quite difficult. If you understand how to master Elise, sure, A tier. Easily. However, I think that most people, especially Emerald and below, if your Emerald is fine or Platinum, people would make it B tier. If you like Emerald, I would say it can be A tier or A+. But below that, it's like B tier. So depending on where you're from, I'll just put it B tier. Bel'Veth, I'll put Bel'Veth B tier as well. Why is Bel'Veth B tier? This champion, people don't know how to play side lane. Don't know how to cross map. Anything below Emerald, people suck at cross mapping. And even if Bel'Veth gets ahead, if your team is behind and your team fight is cooked. And you need champion mastery. So, for that reason, B tier. Amumu! I'm telling you, okay, it depends on how low elo you are, but this champion in my head is always like super OP in low elos. Simply because people don't buy mercs, they don't go cleanse when they should. And it's a very easy, simple champion to start off with to learn fundamentals. But don't look in Amumu if you have like Lissandra in the mid lane, Leona support. Try to lock in Amumu with the right draft, okay? If that's the case, very OP. If not, you know, it's not as OP. Okay, Diana. Okay, Diana for me in low elo, if you go Liandry Riftmaker, is still S+. Highly recommended. This champion is one of the few AP champs I think is very OP. Echo in low elo, I think it's like A tier. It's not like A+, it's not very OP, it's not B, it's just solid. Karthus. Okay, Karthus is like B or C tier. And why is this? First things first, you need to actually land your skill shots. And positioning might be a thing as well. And using tempo and base timers, people are usually not that good on it. Whereas Evelyn, for example, is an assassin. If you can play it a bit well, it's not too bad, but I would still say B tier. Same thing, just knowing how to snowball efficiently, having good fundamentals, makes it a lot harder. Because on Evelyn, teamfights are ass, so you need to find ways to not teamfight and make silent picks. In order for you to do that, you need to understand tempo, how to play side lane, when to cross map. People don't do that. B tier. Same for Kha'Zix. Actually, yeah, same for Kha'Zix. You can teamfight better on Kha'Zix than on Evelyn. It's like easier, and people underestimate Kha'Zix 1v1. Kha'Zix is actually pretty decent 1v1, you know? So I'll put Kha'Zix in low elo A tier. Same for Fiddlesticks. People just don't know how to play against Fiddlesticks, so it's A tier. And you usually can full clear for free. People aren't really going to punish you. And as Fiddlesticks, your ward lasts for 200 seconds, so if you ward your entrance, you're pretty fine. Kindred, yeah, that shit's going into B tier. Like, I would not put it that high, simply because people, depends on how low you go, right? I think Platinum Emerald is not as bad, but if you go, let's say, to Silver, and people have to start learning like what threat assessment is and spacing, that's where you know that this champion is gonna be cooked. Like, it's omega cooked, right? So the higher elo you go, the better. I recommend this champion from Emerald Plus to play Kindred. Then I think this champion becomes somewhat good. But if you're below that, don't touch it, okay? Same for Hecarim. I think Hecarim, people might think it's a simple champion. It's not. It actually requires a decent amount of skill. It's not like that OP in teamfights. You need to play well to make these champions work. If you're not doing that, can't make it work. Jarvan. Okay. Jarvan, depending on the draft, it can be A or A+. I think it's just a very solid champion, but it's not A+. Why is that? You miss your AQ, you lose all your damage. And you need to know when to engage. For that reason, I'll put it A tier. Because it's not like... I mean, have you guys ever played against a Jarvan and you're like, oh my god, I can't play against a champion? Against a Cho'Gath, you understand that. Against Diana, against Mundo, you're like, you feel a bit overwhelmed, but Jarvan's like, it's fine, you know? Okay, Ivern is like, okay, depending on how low elo you are, it's like B tier no elo. It's just not that insane because optimizing your clear, knowing how to use Daisy a little bit, knowing when to fight, when not to fight, being able to call stuff, you need to be able to understand that if you play Ivern. If you don't, it's cooked. That's why I put Ivern B tier. Of course, if you're an Emerald, I think easily A or even A+. But, you know, I really want to clarify that for most people. In low elo, it's B tier, okay? Lilia. I think Lilia is like... Where would I put Lilia? Probably B tier as well. I think this champion is like solid. If you're like a one trick on this champion, I would easily put it A tier. But most people would make it look like a B tier. So A tier champs are usually much easier to execute, you know? Actually, I think Olaf's actually underrated. Olaf, if you just full clear and then look for fights, is actually not bad. This is a champ that's like a bit slept on. It can actually be quite good. Olaf. Well, Morgana goes in the B tier. Shit champ. It's not like shit champ, but it's kind of shit champ. You need to hit your Q or your NPC. Pantheon. Okay. Pantheon used to be really good, but then they nerfed Pantheon and they buffed again. In low elo, I would still say it's A tier. It's not like that bad. Because your 1v1 is still good, you have a global ultimate, but your clear just got a bit worse. It's not B tier, but it's just low A tier. Now Fury, okay, depending on how high elo you are. If you're like Emerald, it's easily A tier, okay? So the problem with Fury is that like you're a bit reliant on just sometimes queuing or playing a bit slow, and people in low elo are not the best at that. So if you're able to play slow and understand your champion, it's easily A tier. But if you're not able to do so, it's like B tier. So champion mastery is pretty essential, you know? Anyway, where did I put Shaco? Okay, Shaco's B tier. Why is Shaco B tier? If you get an early game lead, nice. But if you cannot play team fights, and that's why, have you noticed, most champions that cannot play team fights are just cooked. Or champs that require too much champion mastery to make it work in team fights are cooked. Is cards killing with bad team fighters? No. But do they require more champion mastery to make it then work? Yes. If you don't have that, it's like B tier or C tier. Lee Sin, yeah, just don't touch it if you're low elo. Not only does it not scale, you need arms as well. Poppy, Poppy's actually A tier. It's actually pretty decent in 1v1. And it's pretty decent against most meta junglers as well. But it's just like a champ that like you have to play a lot of macro and understand your limits a bit as well. But it's A tier. It's always like solid. Why is there Gnar here, by the way? Okay, not every top lane champ got buffed, okay? Mossy. I'll put Mossy A tier. Even under elo. Simply because I think Mossy is like just a fine champ. But I don't think it's like very OP or OP like Mundo Cho'Gath. Because what's gonna happen usually is that people that play this champ in lower elos are not as good because they might not anticipate like some crowd control, or they play a bit too fast, or they sometimes grief their base timers and they're not at the right place at the right time. So I do think it's just a solid champion, but I wouldn't put it higher or lower. Qiyana in low elo, you would never guess it, but it's like, okay, this champ is like hard, but not that hard. But in low elo, people don't understand how to position properly. Like I'll give B tier. I think C tier is criminal. Like bro, I permaban Qiyana just so you know. It's cool. I'll put it B tier. But think probably depending on how high you go, it's like easily A tier. Like I think Emerald's A tier. But yeah. Anyway. Nautilus is actually C tier. Don't touch this champion. I think this champ is such a bait. It's so useless. It's like a useless tank. Why would... Okay, think about this. Why... Like, compare Nautilus and Cho'Gath. I'll put Cho'Gath in Z tier. And it's not even funny. Like, just don't play Nautilus. End of story. Okay, Nocturne, I think, is like A+. Why is Nocturne A+? Because the champ is very ult-reliant and it gets kills. But without ult, it's not as OP, I feel like. So, in that case, I think Diana and Amumu does a bit of a better job. And because low elo is a Fiesta, I do think Nocturne is like A tier, A+. But not like super OP, you know? Anyway, where's Nunu? And actually, where's Zahin, by the way? Is Zahin out here? I'll do Zahin at the end, I guess. Anyway, Nunu in low elo is like A tier. Why is it A tier? I mean, it can just gank decently. It skills okay. It's just okay at everything. But it's not like super okay. It's just like literally a mid champion. It's just okay. You know? Vi. Ooh, Vi is B tier. I don't know what happened to Vi, but this champ got giga nerfed quite a lot. And even the OTPs don't enjoy playing this champion anymore. So I think that Vi sadly is a bit dead. So not as recommended. Sejuani is C tier. Okay, the champ isn't that bad, okay? But in low elo, if you want carry potential, don't play it. Gragas, neither. Graves. Yeah, Graves is well in the current meta, and low elo, don't even bother. Actually, if you go Bruiser build, it's actually not as bad. You can go, like, you have a few options. You can go Thunder Sky into Black Cleaver, you can go Hubris into Black Cleaver. But I think the problem is still the same, which is that you don't have many tools, and you need to play selfish and play with good tempo. And people struggle with that a lot in their elo. Brent, no Benno, simply because you're a bit squishy, and positioning is very key. The problem with a lot of AP mages is that you're immobile, and you need to have good base timers before objectives, and have good fundamentals. And you don't just win 1v1 straight up. So for that reason, it's C tier. Because people don't anticipate threats very well. We're up with Viego. I feel like Viego should be A tier. The longer you play League of Legends, the better it is, but I'll be honest, I think Viego is even like maybe B tier. Like if you're like a very good Viego, it's like A tier, okay? Or even A+. So if you play Viego, try to play Viego if you have like some melee support. If you don't, then I would recommend you to play something like Diana or Amumu instead, so you have an easier time, okay? So basically B tier, shit draft, good draft, A or A+, depending on how good you are. But I would say usually it's B tier, by the way. Most of the times. Yeah, actually, my also put A. Like, it's 51's actually decent. It's alright. But yeah, Talia, okay, C tier. Okay, why is Talia C tier? Positioning, people just can't play the champion for shit. Anyway, Zyra. Zyra is actually A tier. You know why? I would make on Zyra an exception because people run into you, and if people run into you, your champ's actually a lot better. So this is silver, okay, very low elo. But the win rate is close to 50%, you see? It's not that bad compared to the other champions. So on Zyra, that was silver elo, right? I would say this champ is actually pretty decent. And I would say that A tier, is it fair? Let me check other champs. I think A tier is fine, honestly. Even in lower elos. Just learn to clear a bit. And this champ actually is better than you think it is. Because if you play against a bruiser, you press your ult after 6, they ignore your plans. Yeah. They might get cooked. Briar, okay, Briar is very S tier in low elo. As you get higher, it's like it goes down. But to balance it, I'll put it on A+, simply because Briar got a bit nerfed before. And I do think that this champion is solid in low elo. Like, when I say low elo, like iron, silver, bronze. Even gold is still decent, but I think platinum onwards, I would say just play other champions like Cho'Gath better, Diana better, like Amun better, Munoz better, Nocturne's better. But if you want to temporarily cheat elo, I would say it's fine, you know. Wukong, I'll put it A tier. Why do I put it A tier? The clear is very shit. It's not as fast as other champs a bit. But in teamfights, you're very strong. You just need to learn one thing. Learn the Wukong combo. If you learn the Wukong combo, easily A tier. If you don't know the Wukong combo, I'll put it somewhere here. So learn the Wukong combo. Zac, okay, B tier. Why B tier? Well, people have to land skill shots, as weird as it sounds. And tanks, generally speaking, don't clear that fast. Like in high elo, I'll put it easily A+. Low elo, not as optimal. Because in Zac, you need levels. Levels and champion mastery. Not happening usually in lower elo, so that's why it's B tier. Ooh, Jaximus! Okay, guys, I'll say this for later, but anyway, fuck it, I'll put Jax. Jax S tier. Why is Jax S tier? Simply because they buffed all the top lane champs. And guess what? Which champion counters top lane champs? If you're not laning against them. It's actually Jax. Like, literally. And even before that, it was already pretty solid. I think they nerfed a lot of champions, and Jax clear is a bit slow. But see Jax as a scaling champion a bit, okay? I have a YouTube video on Jax as well. So if you want to understand how to play teamfights better on this champ, check it out. But I think this champ, you can play almost always. Unless you're getting giga-kited. Why is there Leona here? Anyway, Trundle. Okay, I'll put Trundle A+. I do think Trundle is very good, but I don't think it's very, very OP. Because these three on the very OP have a lot more teamfight presence. And I do think Trundle is up there on A+, because it beats a lot of people 1v1. And yeah, it's just solid, you know? Warwick. Okay, guys, like Warwick in very low elo, S+, like Briar. But generally speaking, I'll put it A+. Like let's say in silver, gold, iron, bronze, very OP, it's Z tier, okay? But generally speaking, I think A+ is a fair place to put him in. I would not recommend you to play Briar and Warwick. So yeah, I would say play other champions, basically. Anyway, as for Zed, okay, Zed is like C tier, don't touch. Bro, any champ that has insane tempo that is not good 1v1 is C tier in low elo. Don't even bother. Sure, it can be A tier in higher elo, but I'll make the tier list later. Udyr. Okay, I feel like Udyr is like... It's high A tier. I don't think I would put Udyr like A+, simply because it's an NPC champion. It just runs at you like this, and it's not like, oh my god, what just happened? It doesn't have like a surprise factor, you know? So, I would say it's like high A tier, but not like A+. Anyway, Talon. Okay, guys, Talon in low elos. Usually, having Talon low elos is not that good, okay? Simply because most assassins require champion mastery. I'll put it high B tier though. But it can be annoying to play against a Talon. But that's like playing against a Viego that's ahead. Or playing against Muno that's ahead. Any champ that's ahead can be fucking obnoxious. So it feels worse than it actually is. Like, I don't know about Talon's win rate, but it's not high, by the way. But the games that he gets ahead and he pops off, it feels disgusting. But it's not a good champion in low elo. Unless that guy is really good, but then he should not be low elo. Sylas, same thing. Like, Sylas is like, you need arms. Like, this champ, I think, is like quite hard to play in low elo because you need to be able to play slow with your rotations. If you're not, it's kind of cooked. So yeah, not recommended. Shyvana, okay, Shyvana ironically is like A+. This champion in low elo, even like Platinum Emerald, the champ is overall very solid. You get your Spirit of Shojin, or you go to your Leandris, and you're pretty strong. Like in team fights, a 1v1 is just pre-6, you're very AFK, but once you get your item power spikes, it outskills most of these champions. So I would say it's actually underrated champion in lower elos. I mean, it's not really underrated, but it's good, you know. Rammus, yeah, don't touch. Just, I mean, Rammus is fine. You should play against Kinner Jungle, and you play against, like, a lot of on-hit, but there are a lot of better champs to have more impact with. Same for Maokai, is mad. Rengar, okay, Rengar, please don't touch on low elo. If you want to play Rengar, I would recommend you to watch the videos that I did on Nadinet. But most people will not make this champion work in low elo, and I don't even want to know the win rate. Like, it's probably disgusting. Oh my god, it's so disgusting. But yeah, these type of champions require you to have arms and macro and know how to communicate, and if you don't have that, it's cooked. Don't play it. It's a very hard champ to pull off if you're bronze. Not bronze, but you get one point. Xin Zhao. We would have put Xin Zhao. Okay. Xin Zhao nowadays. I think most champions are better than Xin Zhao. First at an A+, but I think right now, I don't think it's as good anymore. Because the more I look at A+ and S champs, those champs just do more. It's like an Udyr, right? It's very straightforward. And doesn't have too many surprises. Mordekaiser ironically is A+. That champ beats the fuck out of you 1v1. The scaling's pretty decent. This is one of my underrated champions that I think not many people are playing, but I think this champ is, yeah, OP, and that's as well because people don't know what the fuck Mordekaiser does, I think. Maybe including me, but it's just like, it beats you and you're like, how the fuck do you beat me? Gwen is B tier. Why is Gwen B tier? Slow early game. It is good scaling, but very slow early game. Your teammates will probably want to FF before you get your item power spike. For that reason, B tier. Nasus. Actually, with Rumble. I'll put Rumble somewhere in mid. Actually, yeah, low B tier. The Rumble ultimate's quite hard to play. And managing your furry, if you don't do it properly, it's like even C tier. But generally speaking, it's just pretty decent in fights overall. Scaling's okay as well. So I'll put it B tier. Nasus, you'd be surprised, but I think Nasus is like high B tier. Also, Nasus, I'm not sure, but I think it's actually not that bad, by the way. Yeah, I mean, you can see win rate is actually not even that bad. Like, I'm not sure if I'll put it A tier because it feels weird, but I was thinking originally even putting it A tier. Because this champion, at some point, you just get fucked by him. And while it doesn't do much early game, it comes a lot faster online than Gwen, for example. I'll put actually middle A tier, I feel like. This champ might be pretty decent. I think the champ's actually pretty decent, but I don't want to put it like A+. I think mid A tiers is good. Tryndamere, I'll be honest, I have no idea, but in low elo, I think it's B tier. I don't have to say too much more about that. Kayn, like, Kayn is like a mid A tier. If you go red Kayn. Blue Kayn is like somewhere down here. But if you go red Kayn, I think it's solid A tier because it's a shit show and the scaling, once you get your form, is actually not bad. So that would be my tier list for Below Emerald, basically. And that's it. And I'll be making the higher elo tier list on my basically right now, but I'll just put it on my Discord if you want to see it. But that's it for the lower elo tier list.